Yo, what's up guys, we're back and we're going to be doing another UFC breakdown and predictions video. This week it's for Holm versus Ketlen Viera in the main event. Definitely a more weak UFC fight night card if you ask me. Last week's fight night was really good. This week, not really so much, but going to break down the full card and hopefully we can continue to do well like we've been doing recently. We've been doing really well on the bets on the Patreon and we've been doing really well given the free parlay of the week here and picking some underdogs. Last week we got a couple big underdogs picked correctly. So hopefully we can continue that momentum and continue to do well for the rest of the year. So just make sure to support the channel. You know, we're getting pretty close to 16,000 subscribers. So the faster I could get there, I'd really appreciate it. So if you guys could hit that like button, comment down below, you know, run up the algorithm on the video. That would be amazing. If you guys could subscribe if you're not subscribed. I am going to be giving you guys these full card breakdown and predictions video weekly for the UFC. Going to be potentially trying to sprinkle in some new content, see if you guys like it. And yeah, so definitely stay plugged into the channel and really appreciate all the support that I get. And right before we get the video started, I just want to give a big shout out to my sponsor for this video, CashflowMMA.com. As you know, if you've been following them so far this year, they've been absolutely killing it and they've been doing a really excellent job. So really recommend you check them out. Right now, you still have 2 weeks, so I think right now would be the best time. And if you you know, want to check them out, you still got about 2 weeks to see if you like the way they bet, if you like their system and everything like that, and you have no risk. It's for free. You just got to use the promo code MMAGuru. If you use that promo code, you get to have access till May 31st for free. See what they're kind of all about. If you like what they're all about, you like their you know, what they're doing, the best thing that they have, then yeah, then I believe that you should definitely stay with them and give them a try. And here's just a little sampling of what they do. Here's their bets for last week. They had a parlay with two underdogs with Viana Uros and Viera, but that was a really good parlay. They hit that. They won some decent units, and they also had a big underdog bet on Alen that hit. So they did really well last week. Got back on track, and man, definitely Cashflow MMA. They're in the game and they're doing a great thing. So really recommend them. Think that you should check them out, especially now when you can get the free membership now with the promo code MMAGuru. So the link will be in the description, and really appreciate it if you check them out, gave them a look, and see what you think about their services. And now moving into the fight card, we got the first fight of the night here. We got Elise. She's taking on Sam Hughes, and Sam Hughes is a girl that I actually won in her last fight against Estela Nunes. There was like almost everyone was picking Estela Nunes. I bet on Sam Hughes, picked Sam Hughes, and she came through for me. So that was really nice. And Elise, she got a big upset win in her first fight as well. She beat Corey McKenna. So these are two girls kind of outside the top 15 at strawweight. And the winner is probably going to get a decent matchup. The loser, I don't know. I mean, Sam Hughes, she did get her first UFC win, but she was 0-3 prior to that fight. So I do think she's fighting for her job a little bit in this one. Elise, she's only 1-1 so far, and she is 1-0 at 115. So I think she's a little bit more cemented, and I think she has, you know, less of a chance of being cut with the loss, and she is the favorite. I think, you know, the pressure is definitely on Hughes with the 1-3 record, and I think Elise Reed's going to win this fight, though. I think her footwork is too good. I think she has the superior hand speed. I think Hughes is going to look to pressure forward, get inside, ultimately clinch, get the takedowns, try to land the pull counters in the pocket. She is fairly big for the weight class. But I think that Reed is going to stay mobile. I think she's going to use her speed, the counter two, her lead leg side kicks. I think she's going to make Hughes pay for the pressure. And I definitely think Reed needs to sit on some punches, throw some venom, and try to get Hughes to know she's going to have to walk through some heat to get inside on Reed. And Reed, most importantly, just needs to stay off the cage. I think if the fight stays in the center, Reed's going to dominate. She's just more skillful on the feet. She's faster, better distance control, more weapons. Hughes, if she can get it against the cage, I think she will have the strength advantage. She will probably be able to hit some takedowns. But from what I've seen Elise Reed, she is good off her back. She has a solid sweep game, good submission game. I think she can nullify a lot of what Hughes will try to do on top. And I think she's the more skilled fighter overall. She has better footwork, better foot speed. Her kicks and hands are better. I think she has superior power in her hands. I also think Reed's a better grappler. I think she has better jiu-jitsu. The only edge I would give Hughes, or the edges, I guess, are she has the physical strength advantage, and I think she might have the wrestling advantage. Reed, if she does get put on her back, does sometimes play jiu-jitsu and struggles to get up. So I think that she does lose the fight, she will probably just spend a lot of time on her back trying to get submissions, and won't happen for her, and Reed will be able to get the decision, or Hughes will be able to get decision win. But I don't see a big likelihood that Reese catches a submission off her back on Hughes, so she definitely needs to work to stand up when she gets taken down as fast as possible. And I think Reed should win. She gets bulldogged and grinded out by Hughes, she could lose, and I don't really 100% trust Reed yet to do what she needs to do because I haven't seen her too much. She's only 5-1, but she has the skill set to win here, and I am going to pick her to get the victory over Elise, or over Sam Hughes via decision. And moving along here, we got another fight with Felipe Colares taking on Chase Hooper. This is going to be in the 145-pound division, I believe, and it is going to be a move up for Felipe Colares, who has been fighting mostly at 135 pounds. So that is going to be something you have to take a look at because Chase Hooper is a huge guy, 6'1". He's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. He's going to have a 4-inch height advantage. And, he's going to be significantly longer in the grappling, which could give him an edge there. So that's something that if you're a Colares backer, you would be a little bit weary of, in my opinion. But I think that obviously on the feet, Colares is the superior striker. He isn't really that technical either. I mean, he likes to throw a lot of body kicks, and basically he doesn't have great footwork, so he doesn't cut the cage off very well, and guys can kind of run away from him. So with the hands, he has to get real wild at times to get inside. And on the inside, he is super durable and willing to brawl, so that's one thing that's good about him, and I think that could give him the edge on the feet over Hooper, just the aggressiveness, forward pressure, just willingness to throw the 1-2s in the pocket, to mix in the body kicks, and I think just be a little bit more intense than Hooper. I think that could go a long way, honestly, in the fight. But on the ground, I think it could be pretty close. I think that Colares is the more physical guy. I think he's even stronger, even though he's moving up in weight. And I do believe that he's probably the superior wrestler, but I have seen him have some issues at times with long grapplers, like giving his back, getting, put in the body triangle, getting controlled by Domingo Pilarte and things like that. So I think that this fight hits the ground, that Cooper is going to have a chance to maybe hit some sweeps and get in some good positions. So I do think Cooper has a chance to get the win as the underdog. I think that Colares is wild, and a lot of his fights do end up being kind of a lot of scramble fests on the ground and grappling. And if it becomes too much of that, I think that he could end up losing the fight. But I do think if he can use his striking to get on top, he probably could control minutes as well and just be smart on top. I think that he could probably be able to control, be a little bit more aggressive on the feet, and get this decision win. So Colares is going to be the pick for me here, but I think that Chase Hooper is a bit of a live underdog in this one. And in this next fight, we got Jonathan Martinez taking on Vince Morales. This is going to be fighting the bantamweight division once again, and that's something that you have to take a look at with Jonathan Martinez, who the last couple times he tried to get down to bantamweight, it hasn't been a super easy task for him. He's had a couple fights up at featherweight. Yeah, so I think that Martinez is suited for 35s, though. It's just he has to get the weight right and do that weight cut properly. He's only missed weight once in the UFC, but you could tell he's had some rough weight cuts going down to 35. And Vince Morales, he got a big upset in his last, not an upset necessarily, but the performance was surprising, where he got that very quick first round knockout over a notoriously durable guy in Luis Smolka, and definitely moving him up a little bit in the division. I think that if he wins this fight over Jonathan Martinez, he might even be able to get a top 15 matchup next. So Morales, he kind of at one point was a little bit middling in the UFC. He had lost 3 out of 4, but 2 wins in a row now. He teamed up with Syndicate MMA, and it seems like he turned his career around a little bit. So this would, in my opinion, be the biggest win of his career, the best win of his career, but definitely is a live underdog here, because when you look at Jonathan Martinez, he does have some issues within, the pocket, defensive boxing range, and Vince Morales has good hands. He likes to pressure, get on the inside, and he's going to have to really do that in this fight. He's going to have to get past the kicking range of Martinez, who's a great kicker. And Martinez, being with Factory X, they already have beaten Vince Morales once, and they chopped him down with a real heavy kick style. Chris Gutierrez was able to go in there and finish him with low kicks, and he just dominated him really easily, actually. And Martinez, I do think, could follow that game plan. But I don't think he's on the same level necessarily as Chris Martinez in terms, or Chris Gutierrez in terms of the leg kicks and just being that fluid of a striker. But Martinez is a little bit more vicious, I think, than Gutierrez, a little bit more willing to go for it. His hands are a little bit better. And he's a fun fighter to watch because he lets everything go. He has a nice array of punches and kicks. He throws good combinations. He has nice front knees up the middle. And he throws a lot of dangerous weapons with his lower half. But Vince Morales, like I said, he's going to be looking to box, get on the inside, exploit that bad defense that Martinez has. And if he could pressure and land boxing combos, he could hurt Martinez. We've seen Martinez get put out by Davy Grant. And so that's going to be Morales' path to victory, closing that gap, getting it on the inside, trying to box. And Martinez is going to be wanting to keep it at kicking range and kind of finesse him from the outside, chop the legs, kick up the middle, land the counter shots, and kind of beat up Vince Morales from a distance. So it's going to be a battle of who can implement their game plan a little bit better. And for me, I'm going to side with Jonathan Martinez. I think that he's a little bit more fluid of a mover. I think that Morales isn't necessarily that much of a pressure fighter in his fights. He doesn't throw high volume. And I don't think that necessarily, unless he finds that knockout, is Morales going to be able to keep up with that pace, going to be able to land as many eye-popping shots as Martinez for the judges. So I think that Martinez should be able to get the win here as long as he doesn't get knocked out. And Morales did get that knockout in his last fight, but it isn't like he's a big knockout artist or that's been a big thing throughout his career. So I think that was more an anomaly than anything. And I think that Martinez is going to be able to take the power and be able to get the win either by TKO or decision. And this next fight's going to be a 155-pound fight with Omar Morales moving back up to the lightweight division. And both these guys need to bounce back. They both lost. They were actually on the same card at UFC 266, and both were finished by rear naked choke on that fight card. Morales, he went down to 145s. He only went 1-2 in that division, so decided to make the move back up to 55s, where he is 2-0 so far at 155 in the UFC. And 36 years old, I'm sure the weight cut was taking a toll on him, and I do think 55 is the better weight class for Morales. For Uros Medic, I will say he got a little bit exposed in his last fight. He was 7-0. He had 7 quick finishes, but the competition level was questionable, and he took on Jailton Turner, who's a formidable fighter, and he got outclassed. He got finished in the first round, so he has to show he's UFC level fighter here by at least having a good performance, win or lose. Has a ton to prove. The longest fight of Medic's career has only been 5 minutes and 51 seconds. All but one of his fights have ended in the first round, and he fought on the Alaskan regional scene, which is much maligned for not having a lot of competition. And that was the case for Medic. He did not defeat really any good fighters, and he was fighting in different weight classes against overmatched opponents. And he didn't really cut weight until he went to the Contender Series in 2020. That was the first fight outside of Alaska for Medic. And first fight at 155, he blitzed through Mikey Gonzalez. And then he also blitzed through Alan Cruz on the Contender Series. He got 2 first-round knockouts, highlight reel KOs. So he had a pretty good buzz for himself, but that last fight kind of, had him fall by the wayside. And for Omar Morales, he also had a bit of a buzz. He was training at Sanford. He had the leg kicks finish on the Contender Series. He was 2-0 at 55s. He actually, I believe, was the favored or maybe a very slight underdog in his first fight at 145 against Giga Chikadze. And, he came short in that one, and since then he just kind of hasn't really been able to regain his footing. So maybe moving up to 55s will be the, the elixir to that problem for him. But this is a good match. I think early on, Medic is going to have the speed advantage. He's going to be in and out. He's going to be trying to land the big shots, get Morales out of there. And we've seen Morales struggle a bit with speedy fighters with good movement in the past. Medic has not really been able to take out really any high-level opponents. And with Morales never being finished by strikes, I do think it will be tough to get him out of there, but Medic also hasn't fought that many higher level guys, so we're going to have to just kind of see how he does in his UFC career, on the fly. It's kind of hard to get a great read, but Morales is definitely the more proven fighter in terms of cardio, being able to take damage, give damage. Medic in his last fight, he did not really take punishment well against Jailton Turner, and that was the first time when Medic fought an opponent who really threw heat back at him, and it didn't really look like he handled it too well. So he's going to have to be in a different mindset for this fight and know that, you're in the UFC now, man. You're going to have some tough fights. You're going to have some guys throwing some big punches back at you, and you're going to have to respond, and you're going to have to really show that you're a fighter. So I think that's going to be something that Medic is going to have to prove. But I think if you were to come up with a matchup for Medic to win, I mean, this would be a decent matchup. I mean, he's going in there with a slower, older, low-volume striker that's hittable, that doesn't really have a big wrestling threat. Medic can move and counter, use his speed, and have the fight, where he wants it, most likely in the stand-up. Morales, he has to stay tough. Get in Medic's face, kind of try to throw some combinations with the hands, use his superior reach advantage, use his, 1-2s, and try to back up Medic, get him on the back foot where I don't think he's as good, work the leg kicks, try to slow the movement, and then get him where he could stand stationary with you and, get the better of him in the pocket where I do think Morales has the advantage. Morales also has the jiu-jitsu advantage. He's a black belt, so if he can get into the ground, he probably will have a big edge there. But I'm actually going to lean on the younger fighter you had hyped before his last match, who was a favorite against a beast like Jailton Turner. I think that Medic, even if he has to dig deep and go longer in this fight, he isn't facing a dangerous, aggressive finisher like he did with Turner. He can ease into it a little bit easier. And I'm going to go with Medic by second round knockout. I think that, honestly, Medic has a lot of potential. I think he's very athletic. I think he moves really fast in and out. I think has a lot of dangerous weapons. And I think Omar Morales is a guy that, he's a good fighter, but I think Morales is very basic. I think that he's very obvious what he does. He doesn't really look to mix it up too much. Not super powerful, not super dangerous, not the highest volume. And I think for Medic, this is a good fight where he has to prove it, man. I think he's going to come in great shape. I think he's going to be coming in with a renewed vigor, a better mindset. He is training at King's MMA, so he has beasts to train with. He has coaches that really could coach him up and give him a good game plan. And I think that he's going to be able to stick and move on Morales. I think he's going to have to dig in and brawl a little bit, prove that he can do that, and I think he will. And I just think he's going to be a little bit better than Morales for 2 rounds. Maybe he'll lose the third round, maybe if it goes there, but I'm going to say he gets that second round TKO, becomes first guy to finish Morales with strikes, and gets his second UFC victory. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this fight. I think everyone kind of knows which side I'm leaning on in this one. I'm going to be going with Jailton Almeida in this one. Even though he is moving up to heavyweight, I'm not really too worried about that, to be honest with you, because I think he's a huge guy, honestly, man. I think he could be, if he's like 210 on the scales or something, then okay, maybe I'll be a little bit worried because he's a grappler. Parker Porter, he's 6 foot, he's 263. So if Almeida's like 210, 215, 220, then maybe you could start to get a little bit worried, say, okay, the size might be a bit of an issue, a bit of an impediment in getting the takedowns. If Almeida gets tired, we've seen Parker Porter show great cardio and be able to press forward, throw combinations, and he is a black belt, I believe, on the ground, so it's not like he's just terrible off his back, but I don't know. I feel like he's not going to be that light. I think he's going to come in and actually be a big guy. He's 6'3" with a 79-inch reach. He's going to have the reach and height advantage by a pretty significant margin on Parker Porter. I do, not hold that same level of confidence, like minus 700 confidence, because I haven't really seen too many of Almeida's fights, but from what I've seen, the guy looks like a beast. He looks like an exceptional grappler. He's a black belt, has the wrestling to go with it. Big guy, explosive, fast level changes. When he gets on top, he's super aggressive. He says he wants to bring that Khabib style to the higher weight classes, and if he can do that, not many heavyweights could wrestle very well, so he could have a lot of success. Not many light heavyweights could wrestle very well. I don't know if he's moving up to heavyweight or why he decided to take this fight or whatever, but whatever weight class he decides to be in, I think he could be a force in that weight class. For Porter, obviously, he's going to be trying to stuff the takedowns, keep it standing, work his boxing. But I think in most of Porter's fights, when he has success, he is the faster guy that throws combinations. And he also has the grappling advantage in a lot of fights that he has success. In this fight, I think he has neither of those. So I just think Almeida's going to just dog him in. I think he's going to take him down and probably finish him in that first round by submission or TKO. So I'm going to go with Jailton Almeida. But with the line, you got a real heavyweight and Parker Porter. He's plus 500. I I think that would be the way to go if you were to bet on it. I don't really see any value in betting on Almeida, but total pass for me in terms of the fight, unless you want to look into the props, maybe look at Almeida by submission or something. But I think Almeida's going to get the job done. And this next fight, this is another fight I'm not going to spend too much time on. Really a low-level fight here with Joseph Holmes and Alen Amedovski. I'm going to go with Joseph Holmes in this one. Alen Amedovski, he hasn't really shown me anything. I mean, I watched his fight with Krzysztof Jotko. He basically got out-grappled for 3 rounds very easily, had no get-up game, very bad takedown defense, real wild on the feet, got tired. His subsequent fight, he got knocked out in 10 seconds against John Phillips or something like that. So didn't really get to show anything in that fight. But that's kind of the type of guy that Alen Amedovski is. If you look at his career, all of his wins are quick first-round knockouts. He has that one quick first-round knockout loss and then the one decision loss. And yeah, Joseph Holmes, he's a guy that I actually, picked him against Jamie Pickett. I thought he would perform a lot better, and I did think that, he had decent 1-2s. He was long, he was rangy, really good frame for the weight class. It looked like he had all right grappling, good submission game, but he's still very raw, bad defense, bad takedown defense, bad striking defense. He got very tired in the fight with Pickett, if you ask me, and just seemed like he was a little bit gun-shy, didn't really let off a lot of volume, didn't really do the best work, in my opinion. But just due to the fact that I did like him, I did think that he was going to get the win over Pickett, and I thought that he looked like a decent prospect. I'm going to stick with him here against a guy that I think is more of a kind of a bum in Alen Amedovski, not really a great fighter. I think that Amedovski is a first-rounder bust knockout type of guy, and with Joseph Holmes, I mean, this is one of the most winnable fights for him on the roster. I guess he's fighting a guy that is a little bit hittable, a guy that is very green, so maybe Amedovski could land that kill shot. I know that he's been putting in work with Extreme Couture and training at a better gym for a while now. He hasn't fought in quite a while, but maybe he'll come in looking a little bit improved. But he is on the older side. He's 34. Holmes, he's only 26. So I just got to lean with Holmes, and I'm going to say Holmes gets that first round knockout. I think that this is a good bet to target. Maybe the fight doesn't go the distance, and that would be the angle that I would take if I were to bet on this fight. And kicking off the main card here, we got Eryk Anders taking on Jung Park, and this should be a good one. I think that Jung Park is the rightful favorite, and I think that a lot of people are going to maybe be taking a stab on Anders. Anders is a guy that's recognizable in the UFC. He's been in the UFC for a long time now. He obviously has the Alabama background, and he got pushed at one point. He had a couple main events. He went and fought Machida in Brazil, and lost a very close decision there. He fought Thiago Marreta Santos in a main event and lost that fight as well. But he's been in some big spots and fought some, really great fighters. Even though he hasn't really had the, top-end success in the UFC, he's been able to stick around and get some knockouts, get some wins, and, be fairly competitive against good fighters. And Jung Park, he just came in the UFC, and man, he's a fun fighter to watch. The guy always has really fast-paced, fun fights. He has exceptional cardio, and he goes in there to fight. He's not in there to point fight with you. He's not in there to get the decision win. Even though he has decision wins and he could, win by decision, he could fight smart. He pushes the pace to try to get guys out of there, and I do like that about him. And I also feel like Jung Park has fought multiple fighters that are a similar style to Eryk Anders and done well. He fought Chukwi. He fought Marc-Andre Barriault, two kind of slower pressure fighters that have power, that like to clinch you against the cage. And he was able to dominate them. He used the jab. Park has a really excellent jab. I think that's going to be a huge factor in the fight, just his ability to move, use the jab, mix in his takedowns. He has pretty good takedowns as well. And I think that Park just has way better boxing than Eryk Anders. Anders, he a little bit stiff. He throws kind of more one shot at a time, big overhands. Wants to get you in the cage, push you against the cage, get you tired, land that big left hand. He's southpaw. He'll mix in some kicks sometimes, but I think Park, throws a lot more volume, way more crisp with the hands. I think he throws a lot better combinations. I think Park has the wrestling advantage as well. I think he can mix in takedowns. I think that Anders, since going to fight ready, has really tried to use his physicality more and his strength, try to get the takedowns, get on top. And when he gets on top, I think that's honestly where Anders is the best. He has pretty good grappling. He can float control on top well, good ground and pound, and he can kind of just beat guys up from there, get them tired, and then have more success on the feet, because he does have issues on the feet a lot of times because he's slower and doesn't cut the cage off super well. So I just kind of stick and move on him, land on him, control him in the clinch. We saw Krzysztof Jotko really control him in the clinch effectively. And I think Anders, he's good in certain areas, but I think he's just not well-rounded enough to deal with a guy like Park. I think Park has the wrestling advantage and the boxing advantage, and I think he is a little bit smarter of a fighter. So I think that he's going to be able to get the decision fairly easily here on Anders. I think he'll use the jab to kind of mitigate a lot of Anders' big punches. I think when Anders gets over aggressive, he might mix in a takedown and get him a little bit hesitant to pressure. And I just think Park's going to kind of just dominate him here and get the decision win. And this next fight here, we got one of my more confident picks on the card with Tabatha Ricci taking on Polyana Viana. Two girls in the strawweight division, so two smaller girls. And I feel like Ricci, if you look at her size, I think she will struggle a little bit in the UFC. I think she's more of an atom weight, but maybe not struggle in the UFC, because I do think she could beat some girls, but struggle with the size against certain fighters. And Polyana Viana is a big girl. She's 5'5". She's going to have a 4-inch height advantage, 5-inch reach advantage over Tabatha Ricci. And she's going to want to use that and keep it on the feet, in my opinion. I know that she's a jiu-jitsu world champion, but you watch her fights, Viana doesn't really have a wrestling game. She doesn't go for takedowns, and she likes to attack with submissions off her back. Her last two wins she's got in 2 quick armbar finishes, which is kind of what she gets whenever she wins. If you look at her career, Viana's a killer, man. I mean, she's finished all 12 of her wins. She's finished 11 of her 12 wins in the first round. So when she wins, it's usually that's what's going to happen. She's going to, get you on the ground, and she's either going to sweep you, get on top, and submit you from the top position, or more than likely submit you with an armbar or a triangle off bottom. Her armbars are really what she's gotten almost all her submissions with. And you'd have to think and imagine, man, these girls know, just avoid the armbar and you're going to probably win the fight. And a couple girls have been able to do it. JJ Aldridge, Hannah Cyphers, they were able to get on top and use good head positioning, stay tight, and, follow the hips. And they avoided the submission danger from Viana. And Tabatha Ricci, she has a high-level jiu-jitsu background. She's a black belt. And I think that she definitely could do the same potentially. She just has to be able to close that distance and get it to the ground. On the feet, Viana, she has improved, I believe, and she has that range advantage. She's going to be trying to look for the 1-2s, look for that body kick, the front kicks up the middle, and it does seem like she has some sting on her kicks, and I do think that she probably is the girl that hits harder in comparison to Ricci, but Tabatha Ricci, she is a beast on her own right. She likes to move around. She's very explosive, and even though she's smaller, she's fast. She has really good, movement and footwork, and she'll move around on the outside, explode in with some combos. And Polyana Viana is a little bit slower. She's a little bit flat-footed. She stands tall. And, that's why I think that Ricci could have success with her striking game, with her movement. Viana's going to be plotting, walking her down. And I think that Ricci could be faster, moving around her in and out. And, dart in, land her combination, get out. And I think that eventually that could help her set up the takedown. Ricci could get on top. And Ricci, I think, is a beast on the ground, man. She makes great decisions. She is really good from the mount. She has nice arm bars. She'll use her ground and pound and take the back. Good rear naked chokes. She has really good control. Sometimes she can go position over submission. I think in this fight with Viana, she should be a little bit smarter about her positioning and try to just stay on top, not really go for arm bars or mount or things like that, where she could potentially put herself on her back. But I think that Ricci is probably the highest level jiu-jitsu girl that Polyana Viana has faced in her career. So to, think that Viana is going to be able to submit her in the first round like that, I think it's going to be a little bit harder than her doing that to other opponents. We have seen Veronica Macedo even submit Polyana Viana with a nasty armbar. She ripped that motherfucker. That was a sick finish. Macedo didn't have a lot of wins in the UFC, but that was sweet. And, but yeah, I think Tabatha Ricci should definitely win this fight. I think the line is a little off. I think she should even be like a -200 favorite, because I think on the feet she has the big speed footwork advantage. I think she can move around close that gap with their striking, explode in, land shots, and get out. And I think that her jiu-jitsu acumen is on another level than certain opponents that Viana has faced. I'd be really surprised if she allowed herself to go out there and get submitted in the first round via armbar or something from Viana's guard. I think she's just too skilled for that. And I think that she's going to have a big wrestling advantage. She's going to be able to get on top and dominate. And I think that Ricci's just a little bit more intense as the fight goes on. I think she'll be able to keep that pace a little bit better. And I think that she's going to be able to get this easy victory. I think she'll either win via decision, or I think she could even win via TKO or submission on the ground as well. So give me Tabatha Ricci in this one, and I think she will get the job done. She's one of my more confident picks on the card, even though she has a close money line. And this next fight, this should be a banger right here. We got Chidi and Njokuani taking on Dusko Todorovic. They're going to be in the middleweight division. And Chidi and Njokuani, he got his first UFC win after a really long career outside the UFC, and good for him. You know, he was able to get that really quick knockout against Marc-Andre Barrial. And super experienced fighter. He has almost 30 fights. He's a great kickboxer. He has an 80-inch reach, and he fights long. He has good footwork, good feints, dangerous long-range weapons. He's fast. He comes with the heavy 1-2s, 3-2s. He has good front kicks at the middle, good round kicks. He likes to pressure, stay long, good feints. He tries to get fighters to open up so he can meet them with the counters. He will try to land counter elbows, counter 2s. At times he can overextend, get a little bit sloppy, especially with his boxing. I think his hands aren't as good as his kicks. He can fall into the clinch sometimes, but he's strong in the clinch. He has good knees, good elbows. He has good head positioning, uses his height well there. And his defense is pretty good. He stays long, he rolls with punches. He can't stand tall, and his chin sometimes is a little bit too high. So I do think against guys that are very explosive, and Dusko Todorovic does have a good blitz attack. So that's something that Chidi has to be a little bit weary of. Dusko blitzing in on him, because he does, float his chin a little bit. Like I said, his body is a little bit hittable, and explosive guys can close the gap and land on him. But his reach is very tough for fighters to, get past. And he could exploit most guys on the feet. He can counter them, use his footwork, his reach, his range, and just get the better of guys. But he has been finished by strikes 3 times. Most of those have been on the ground, and he has 13 knockout wins. On the ground, Njokuani is a black belt, but he doesn't have the best wrestling, doesn't have the best takedown defense. He could stay safe, but he doesn't have a big danger factor when he gets on bottom. He only has 1 submission win. When he gets on top, he does have good ground and pound. He does have fairly, good control with his length. But he doesn't really look to get on top too much. And usually when he gets on top, it's like in a scramble, or his opponent has a bad takedown, pulls Njokuani on top of him or something. But Chidi has good cardio, and when fighters slow down, he starts to pick it up. He does a good job of weaponizing being in good shape. And he probably is, high on confidence right now, coming off that big, quick knockout win. So hopefully that helps him in this fight. Dusko Todorovic, he also got back in the win column. He had 2 losses in a row, but came back, got the win over Maki Pitolo by submission in his last fight. And I do think he's the younger, more well-rounded fighter. And his advantage in this fight is clearly on the ground. If he can get in the top position, I think he's going to have success and potentially be able to tire out and finish Njokuani. Todorovic, he's trying to improve his striking on the feet. He has really nice heavy kicks, and he usually is the taller, longer fighter. In this fight, that's not the case, and I think that could be a big issue because he does like to pull back. He holds his hands low. We saw against Bruno Soriano how hittable he was and how much damage he took. The same thing against Gregory Rodriguez, and he is very durable and tough. He was able to survive a long time, taking bombs against Soriano, and then survive to the decision, taking a lot of damage against Gregory Rodriguez. But eventually that damage is going to catch up to him, and he already has been knocked out 1 time. So Chidi and Njokuani definitely has a chance to put him out with strikes. But Todorovic, he, like I said, has heavy kicks from the outside, and then his style, being light on his feet, being able to move and kind of dart in, dart out. He is explosive. He can blitz in with some heavy punches. And we've seen him even against guys like Michel Pereira be able to blitz in, hurt him with some body head punches and take him out. And, I think that against Chidi, he needs to use those blitzes to try to land on Chidi and then clinch him. And we've seen him in certain fights really use that heavy clinch attack like against Teddy Ash. He clinched him against the cage and controlled him there against Daquan Townsend. And I think if he does it against Chidi and can control the clinch, get the better of the clinch, then he could have a lot of success because I think he could get Chidi tired. And then if Todorovic gets on top, I think he is really good on top. He has heavy ground and pound, good submission game, and I think he could potentially finish Njokuani if he can get in the top position. Cardio-wise, Todorovic has good cardio as well, and I think that maybe he has the superior cardio. So I do think this is a winnable fight for Todorovic as the underdog, but I just still feel like he leaves too many openings on defense on the feet. I think he's going to struggle with the speed and reach of Njokuani, get hit quite a bit, struggle to close that distance and get inside. And I think Njokuani has a good enough clinch game himself that he can nullify some of what Dusko wants to do in the clinch. He can maybe even turn Dusko on the cage and get some clinch control himself, land some elbows, land some knees. And I don't think that he's going to be as easy to control in the clinch or take down as some previous opponents of Dusko. So I think Njokuani is actually I'll say he gets a second round TKO in this one. And yeah, so I'm going to go with Chidi Njokuani here to make it 2 wins in a row and 2 knockouts in a row in the UFC. And in the co-main event here, we got Santiago Ponzinibbio taking on Michel Pereira, and this should be an amazing fight. This should be a stand-up fight, and I think both these guys are probably going to go to war, and yeah, it should be fun to watch. I mean, ultimately, though, I do think that if you just look at it from the perspective of who is doing good right now and who's not, I definitely feel as if, honestly, that Michel Pereira is the younger guy. He's the guy on the 4-fight win streak. We see Santiago Ponzinibbio. He has lost 2 or 3 fights since coming back from that, layoff that he had, and has gotten knocked out in one of the fights. Had a, back and forth fight with Jeff Neal that he lost by split decision his last time out there. So maybe some people felt like he won his last fight, but he took a lot of damage in that one too. And yeah, I mean, this fight is going to be a battle of wills, man. I mean, we got Santiago Ponzinibbio, who we know what he has to do to get the win. He's going to have to close that distance. He's going to have to get more in boxing range. He's going to have to use that jab. He's going to have to use those leg kicks. He's going to have to make it more of a war. And if he can make it more of a brawl in the pocket, Ponzinibbio is proven. I mean, the guy has, good head movement. He has really nasty 1-2s. His hands are really, really good. And I think if he can make it more of that pocket fight with Michel Pereira, he will get the better of it. I mean, Pereira is very durable, and he also has some really nice combinations in the pocket, but obviously Pereira is more the guy that he doesn't want to get stuck in there like Ponzinibbio does and brawl and get into these long exchanges. Michel Pereira, he likes to kick and move. He likes to, when he does throw combinations on the inside, throw like a 3-4 punch combo, throw with heat, throw heavy, throw speed, and then get out. And I think that movement is going to give a lot of issues to Santiago Ponzinibbio. He's not going to stick in the pocket with him. And I think he has a huge speed advantage. I think he's going to be able to put some combinations together in the pocket early that make Ponzi a bit gun shy with his body head combos. And then obviously, it's really hard to pressure Pereira that intently because you have to be wary of the spinning attacks, the flying knees, the flips, all the craziness that Michel Pereira is going to throw at you. And I just feel like Pereira in this fight, he has to stick and move, touch, not let Ponzi load, stay in the pocket with him, and he's going to give him a lot of issues. I mean, Pereira, I think he does a lot of things that Miguel Baeza was doing in that first round against Santiago Ponzinibbio that were effective, and I think he can do it for a longer period of time. I think he's more experienced, way more experienced than Baeza, and I think he just does a better job of sticking to the game plan that he does have. And Miguel Baeza, early in the fight, he was doing the smartest thing to do. He was kicking his legs. He was using those front teeps up the middle, using a lot of movement, counter punches, counter with the 2. And Ponzi was having a lot of issues tracking him down. Ponzi, even though he has that good in and out movement, he wants to be, flat-footed, exchanging and, on a napkin, man. He wants to be right there. And Pereira's always going to be moving. He's always going to be giving different angles. He's not going to be staying in that pocket. I think when the times they do stay in the pocket, I think Pereira has the chin to take some shots if he does have to take some shots. And I think that he's going to have the speed advantage with the hands too. And he has improved combinations on the inside. He's doing really good with his body head combos. And I think that he could definitely land first and get out on Ponzinibbio when they do have exchanges as well. He just has to be smart. I think that even another thing that Pereira can do and what he's done in certain fights is mix in the takedowns. I don't think it's going to be as easy to take down Ponzi as it has been some of his other opponents, but I think that if he could mix in a takedown, he probably could control on top for the entire rounds. I also feel as if he is significantly bigger. I think that he has the better chin. He's more durable. He's younger. He's faster. Ponzi, what he has in his back pocket is he has the cardio and probably, I don't know if I would say toughness, because Pereira is really tough. I mean, the guy can get hurt and come back and things like that. But if it becomes a dogfight, I think that Ponzi can take damage in that fight maybe a little bit better and dish out damage and win that type of fight. But I don't see Michel Pereira falling off a cliff, man. I mean, other than the Connolly fight, he has gotten a little bit tired in certain matchups, but he's shown very good cardio. He's been able to go in there with really heavy hitters like Nico Price, like Chaos Williams, and he didn't get knocked out. He didn't get hurt too bad, Andre Fiallo. And I don't think that Ponzi's going to necessarily knock him out. So I think that Pereira's going to get the better of the first 2 rounds. I think that he's very live to get a knockout as well. One thing that I did notice is Ponzi does like to, pull back and lean back a lot. And that head kick, that flying knee is there for Pereira if he times it well. I think that potentially we could see another highlight reel type knockout for Pereira here. But ultimately, I just think he's a little bit better than Ponzi at this stage of their careers. I think he's faster, more mobile. I think the speed and movement is going to be the big difference. And I think that Pereira could get the knockout or could win by decision. So give me Michel Pereira here. And another fight where the line is close, but I'm fairly confident in who I think is going to be the winner. And I think that's going to be Michel Pereira. And finally here we got the main event. And man, I don't know how Holly Holm keeps getting all these main events, but dang, bro. I mean, she must have some sort of fan base that I don't know about. But yeah, she's getting another main event here. And she's going to be taking on Ketlen Viera. Don't really have a lot of interest in this fight. I mean, kind of over this whole Holly Holm thing. I don't really see her ever getting the title again. And, she's still a beast. And obviously, she's had some epic performances in the past. But, honestly, I was thinking maybe taking the shot on Ketlen at this spot just because you look at Holly, she had kidney problems. She's had, I think, neck issues, knee issues, and she's had to pull out of a lot of fights. She hasn't fought in over a year and a half. She's almost 41 years old. So I definitely think that potentially, we're going to see Holly come in this fight or the next fight. One of these fights coming up, and she's not going to look like Holly Holm anymore. She's going to be slower, and she's going to get exploited, I feel like. But, I don't know if it's going to be this one. One thing about Holly that you do have to commend her for is she's always in incredible shape. She keeps good care of herself, so I think that will help her kind of elongate her career. It's just how long is that going to be plausible for her? I don't really know, but Ketlen Viera, she's getting that. She just come off that big time win over Miesha Tate, where she beat a former champ, and looking to make it 2 former champs in a row here for on the win column for Viera. Viera, she's been kind of 50-50 since coming back from her knee injury. She got knocked out by Irina Aldana. She had the loss to Yana Kunitskaya, but she did beat Miesha Tate, and she had another win mixed in there as well. So Ketlen Viera, she's proven that she's a very good grappler. And one thing I do believe is if she gets in top position in this fight, then, she could definitely potentially take the back and get that rear naked choke. We haven't really seen Holly Holm face too many wrestlers in her career. I would say the only wrestler she's ever fought is Miesha Tate. I mean, she did fight like Raquel Pennington, but I wouldn't really classify her as a great wrestler. I think that Ketlen is probably the second best wrestler that Holly Holm has ever fought, and one of the better grapplers for sure. So it's a different matchup, but one thing about Ketlen is I don't really rate her striking too good. I don't think that, even though she hits hard, she's slow, and I feel like she's very hittable, and she's flat-footed. She really relies on her opponents to make a mistake to get in the clinch so she can hit her judo takedowns, and she's very physically strong there. But Holly Holm is the type of girl that she's not going to make mistakes for you. She's going to stay on the outside. She's going to kick at the air. She's going to punch the air, and she's going to, beat up the air before she makes a mistake. She's going to make you make that mistake, close the distance. And when girls close the distance on Holly, that's where she's dangerous because she can land that counter too. She has very technical boxing from her boxing background. She can land combinations and get in, get out, good blitzes with their taekwondo kind of karate type blitzes. She has really nasty head kicks and just a dangerous striker when you become too aggressive on her. But, obviously fighters have been able to beat her. Usually they have to mix in the grappling, but Germaine de Randamie was able to get the victory over Holly Holm by decision, even though that was a very close fight. And also, Amanda Nunes got that head kick knockout on Holly. But besides that, Holly's really outstruck everyone she's fought. She's starting to improve her grappling as well, getting takedowns, things like that. I don't really see her doing that in this fight. I think she might maybe try to clinch a little bit, but I don't see her really trying to wrestle too much. I think it's going to be the, move in, beating up the air, and then getting Ketlen to try to overcommit so she can counter. Ketlen, she has to be very aggressive in this one. You watch her last fight with Michel, I feel like she was sticking on the outside way too much. If she has that same game plan in this fight, she's going to lose a decision very easily, in my opinion. But maybe that was also because of the fear of the takedown from Misha. Because Ketlen, even though her takedown offense is really good, she has been taken down before, and she isn't the greatest off bottom. So maybe she was a little bit worried about that. With Holly obviously can take you down too. She's shown that recently, but I don't think she's going to be as comfortable taking down a jiu-jitsu black belt, a girl that likes to grapple too. I think she, took down Irene Aldana, Megan Anderson because they're strikers. And so I feel like, Holly's just going to be able to do her thing, get the win in this fight with her superior speed, footwork, distance control, movement, having a little bit more variation in her striking, the experience edge that she has. But, I mean, minus 240 on a almost 41-year-old girl coming off a almost 2-year layoff. I'm not interested in that, really. I'm not really interested in betting on Ketlen either, because I do think that Holly stylistically is kind of a bad matchup. I think she's going to be hard to close the gap on for Ketlen. I think she's going to be being able to counter Ketlen as she comes inside, make Ketlen gun shy. And I don't necessarily think Ketlen is the greatest wrestler. I don't think she's going to be able to just dog Holly and get it to the ground that easily. I haven't really seen Holly on her back in a long time. Like, I'm going off the Miesha Tate fight when I'm saying that she could get submitted quickly. So maybe even, that was a long time ago. She obviously has been working. I think maybe even if she gets taken down, she should have the wherewithal to be able to work back up to her feet. So I'm going to go with Holly Holm once again to pick up another main event decision victory. But yeah, I mean, this is a fight that I think betting-wise, the value is on the younger girl in Ketlen Viera. So plus 200 on her, not terrible. I wouldn't bet it, but total pass fight for me. The pick, though, is going to be Holly Holm by decision. So there you have it. That's the full card breakdown for UFC Vegas 55, UFC Fight Night Holly Holm versus Ketlen Viera. As far as my party of the week goes and my most confident pick, for my most confident pick, I'm going to go with Tabatha Ricci and Jailton Almeida. For my parlay of the week, I'm going to go with Jonathan Martinez and Young Park. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you learned something off this video. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if we could try to get to 16,000 subscribers as fast as possible, that would be freaking awesome. So hit the like button on this video. Let's try to get 150, 200 likes. Let's try to get the comments up on this video. Put a comment down below. What do you think about my picks? What's your parlays you're doing? What bets you're doing? I would be intrigued to see that. And then if you want to get any additional content, Eagle FC this week, some Fury FC, they got FAC. So there's quite a few fight cards going on this week. There's some fight cards going on next week when the UFC is off. So if you want to get access to that, check out patreon.com/MAPredictionGuru. And besides that, I'm out. I'll talk to you guys later.